It's very clear, this guy. I mean, we mustn't forget, he only arrived in Canada, I think he was in 2006, so he's been in Canada less than 20 years after spending basically most of his adult life in India, and clearly being channeled up through an RSS-affiliated lifestyle, and suddenly arrives in Canada, clearly supported by whatever means by RSS institutions, because he's bearing this sort of typical RSS Hindutva right-wing agenda. Clearly that's his own opinions, which align very carefully and closely to the RSS, and therefore that's imposing or certainly influencing his political agenda, which has no place, frankly, in Canadian politics. And I think, I mean, even just looking at the guy himself, I mean, as we talked about before, he was just so self-destructive from the start. I mean, his own political campaigning, where he dismissed out of hand the whole cultural thing with the French language. I mean, again, it shows a little bit of immaturity and inexperience as a politician of whatever background, whatever ethnicity. This has nothing to do with his ethnicity or his background. This is literally his complete ignorance of Canadian, essential, basic, embedded Canadian culture. You can't just dismiss it out of hand. And with all due respect to the guy, again, speaking in broken English, he's only been in Canada less than 20 years, and he's now asking to lead the nation. It just doesn't happen. It's just not going to happen in anybody's book, whatever his background. So unfortunately, I think, I mean, I got to admire his ambitions and his admirations. I'd never, take it away from anybody who really pushes their own ambitions and aspirations, but ultimately it appears he's not a good guy. He really does represent a dangerous agenda, and certainly his track record in the past is very clearly anti-Sikh, anti-Khalistan, powerfully anti-Khalistan. And I think this whole agenda of and actually it's interesting seeing his supporters saying, look, he was anti-domestic terrorism, he was standing up for homegrown terrorism that was sprouting up in Canada, obviously referring to the Khalistan movement. Well, I'm sorry, but the only terrorism that I see in Canada is actually coming from India itself, the Hindu elements, the Hindu diaspora from Canada. These are the people who are terrorizing the Khalistan movement, who are terrorizing the Sikh community in Canada, who are the ones who are going out there in the streets, in these riots, going out there armed with sticks and iron rods and all sorts of things, etc., and attacking peaceful Khalistan protesters. It's, that's the only homegrown Canadian domestic terrorism I see. And indeed, the organised crime that's sprung up coming from, again, the Indian Hindu diaspora, the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Where's that come? That's come from India. That's come from the RSS Hindutva backed government.